Good morning, everyone. My name is Aisha Rashid, and I am a researcher at the Sea Dock Society and the science director at the Earth Gang Foundation. I'm really excited to talk with these two amazing leaders in the ocean space and would like to open it up to introductions from you both.
I guess I'll go first. Hi, my name is Jermaine Beebe, and I'm the Chief Innovation Officer and Chief Operating Officer for Black and Marine Science.
I'm Julieta Imperioso, and I am program manager at the ReefLine.
Well, I wanted to start this off by getting a kind of gauge of what our audience is looking like. So, if you are in the blue economy space, by show of hands, just pop your hand up if you are currently working in the blue economy. And how many are interested in working in the blue economy? Okay, fantastic. Well, between the three of us, we have a lot of exciting resources on non traditional and traditional approaches to the blue economy. And I wanted to kind of start by defining what I view as the blue economy, and that is any job related to the ocean and coastal system. Jermaine, at Black and Marine Science, you're supporting a generation of scientists in ensuring they're having equity in roles and advocating them for themselves in workplace environment. What sorts of tools do you prepare early career scientists or people interested in transitioning into the blue economy? How do you support them and navigate that transition into this space?
Sure, thank you. That's a great question. So I think the first thing that we have to focus on is really earlier on in the career, as early as possible. Because what we're finding out is that oftentimes the barriers kind of begin very early, and that starts with sort of like this education and just really the opportunity to even know about it, right? Because the word blue economy is really most people probably just started hearing about it. So you can imagine someone who's young in their career, they don't often even hear about blue economy until like very much later on. So really starting from the very onset of the career, whether they're going into biology or marine biology, to just let them know that first of all, this exists, right? Blue economy and blue tech, right? Then to begin to also support them in terms of their career to come to functions like these. We have a program called Tidal Wave. Until date, we've been able to take nearly 100 of our cohorts to come to conferences and with free of cost, right? And then we also work with a number of colleges and universities in terms of like, hey, here are some of the avenues that you can work with in terms of your BIPOC population, letting them know that this exists and how we can support them in terms of like getting them grants, getting them funding, and getting them internships. And I think getting the exposure in that way of like one, learning about it and knowing about it, and then getting them opportunity, even if it's just a little bit to get their hands and feet into it, to be like, hey, you know what? I didn't even know about this whole opportunity or even really understand what blue economy is because we're giving it a name to an industry that has existed for like what thousands of years. There has always been a blue economy. And if you are born in a coastal community, whether it's an island or off the coast, you were born into a blue economy, more than likely. And I think that's really important for everyone to understand.
Absolutely. And I think you touch on something that's so important as well is the blue economy looks so different for everybody. And often as a young person, I am shaping the job I want in the future. That job doesn't necessarily exist. And for me, that has sort of looked like balancing a lot of different things at once. It's overwhelming. It's a lot of work. Also, highlighting your passions, highlighting the arts, the cultures, the community is so important and a crucial center hold of the blue economy. I think one of the strongholds at places like Climate Week is when these ocean folks come together, there's so much passion and discussion and ideation. And that is truly, I think, one of the driving forces of the blue economy. And knowing that the jobs you want doesn't necessarily exist, but forging ahead and trying to make that happen in spaces like this is so important. So to all of you who are interested in making this jump to the blue economy, it's a jump that it's very foggy. You don't necessarily see the other side, and working together with those around you and making these connections here is so important. But the ReefLine is an incredible arts exhibition that is also supporting incredible science in Florida. And I would love to hear about how you're intersecting with community and arts down there as well.
Thank you. For all of you who don't know, maybe the Reef Line is an underwater sculpture park doubling as hybrid reef. It's a nonprofit based in Miami. We always say that the Reef Line could only have been born in Miami because that is a community that is so intertwined with the ocean and, of course, supported under a blue economy. And we have several intersections with the community, with the spaces, right? We are a more non-traditional way to finding a job in the blue economy. If maybe you are in the arts sector, if you want to collaborate from a more creative space, there's also room for that. Um, and we're working with art community, of course, marine science, marine engineers, concrete experts. So it's a very, very interdisciplinary project and team. Besides that, we are also working with schools in Florida, bringing contemporary art and ocean conservations into the schools so kids can understand that the ocean and corals, conservation, and what is really close to them, that is the Florida Reef Tract, is not only a cause, is not only an interest, but can also become a career.
I'm so excited to see the Reefline and experience that and have it be a staple, a place where Floridians and people who travel there can experience the joys of our ocean.
Yes, sorry. One more thing. If you are in Florida or are planning to be in Florida, we are deploying our first underwater sculpture at the end of October. So we'll be more than happy to have you there.
I think one of the biggest points of friction in getting involved in the blue economy is finding your entry point. So I'd love if you both could share how you got to where you are, or how you found the Reefline, how you found BIMS, and what that journey has looked like for you.
Mine's probably a different journey because I was not in marine science or the blue economy at all until about 2023. And I think it sort of was like me finding BIMS and BIMS finding me at the right time. I was working with a lot of different like tech companies and environmental work, and I started sort of like having a lot of like synergy in terms of like crossing a lot with business world and doing a lot of consulting work for different environmental organizations. And I was definitely looking for a real change. And here sort of like came this organization that really had a great mission in terms of how I can really impact the field in helping people in the BIPOC community really come into this world, right? And it's a great question because I think one of the things I want to tell people is that there are so many transferable skills into the blue economy, into this space, right? So here I was, somebody who had nothing to do with it. I'm working with a whole bunch of people who are probably far more smarter than me, marine biologists, doing all these amazing things, and being able to come into the space and um, have a great learning curve. We're working with some great, amazing people, really understanding everything that comes with it, and then being able to use my skill set be able to help them and be able to grow and be able to build this organization and build this company. It let me know that all of you guys who are maybe not in it right now are doing something completely different, looking for a pivot, looking for a change. There are a lot of transferable skills. We need a lot of people who can do technology, who can do systems, who can do KPIs, who can lead, who can manage. All of those things are needed and are necessary, right? It takes a lot of work to be able to put a sculpture underneath the water, right? We need boaters, we need divers, we need artists, right? And many of them are not currently in the field, but there's a huge demand for them. Right. And so, as some of us here are probably looking for a transition or are in the middle of a transition, I really highly encourage you to start to look, put that word ocean into LinkedIn sometimes and see what's out there. There's a lot of that in terms of just in water in general, needing your help. Even at one of the people I worked with, those Miami waterkeepers. Waterkeepers works a lot with a lot of advocacy and they work with a lot of attorneys. And so here you are, you go over there and you'll kind of go into their ecosystem and you'll meet so many different people of all different walks of life who are able to take their transferable skills from a totally different industry and use it to advocate for clean water and use it to advocate for our aquifers. So these are the type of things I kind of want to let you know that there isn't to me necessarily a real starting point, right? If you kind of can really see, I think the water really sort of like is unique because for me, it sort of brings me peace and it brings sort of this mystery. But if you have whatever that connection is, right, and you say, you know what, I would love to sort of be a part of this and work with it, use those transferable skills because I think it's a great thing that I can kind of like, work on the beach every day if I want to, right? I think it's a great thing that I travel across this world and I'm always amongst this great bodies of water. And that's something that has affected me both in my career, but also personally. And I think if that's something that, that sort of like speaks to you, I think the blue economy is something you should really like look into in terms of seeing where you can kind of put your skills to use.
So my journey is similar in the sense that I have been working in the blue economy space, same 2023, but my background is actually in psychology. And I have been working in management for many, many years now. I started in creative industries and then started working in an initiative in Brazil that was using applied technologies to preserve the Amazon forest. So that's where I shifted towards a more green or environmental field. Doing that, I met Jimena Caminos, the founder of the ReefLine, and she invited me to be part of this amazing project. And I loved what you said about these transferable skills because that's exactly what I have been doing, right? You don't need to be a marine biologist or an engineer to work in the blue economy. You can have what I call bridge kind of careers or skills that is just putting teams together, making them run, making them succeed. I feel like that is a really important binder, really necessary for the projects to go from 0 to 1. I also think that with technology and what we have today, even if you don't live close to the ocean or to any bodies of water, even you can work remotely, you can look for opportunities. Yeah, just look into how you can collaborate. Of course, I work with teams from communications, PR, curators, again, of course, marine engineers, marine biologists, but even politicians. You need every single skill possible to be able to achieve your goals. So if you are looking into being in the blue economy space, please just knock all the doors and see how you can use your skills and implement them and be prepared to learn because you will learn a lot as well.
I just want to say I think it's incredibly inspiring and very reassuring to hear about like your pivot from like psychology to what you're doing right now. That's really amazing, and I hope you guys really get encouraged by that because that's really inspiring for me.
Yeah, well, I think that psychology and management go hand in hand, right? You
Yeah.
I have been using what I've been learning for years now, and it's all about skills, right? And these soft skills. I don't know if I think that in these spaces we're used to the really hard skills, right? But the people with these more flexible and cross-disciplinary profiles are the ones that keep holding these teams together and helping them achieve their goals. So I feel like that's really important as well.
You probably have all heard this from friends and family that, wow, your job is so cool. Like, I wish I could do what you do. And I'm like, you can. We need project managers. We need computer scientists. We need every sector of every field of every industry working in this space. And I think right now everyone is feeling the stress of the current administration and the funding cuts. But I wanted to turn a little bit into enormous amounts of grants there are related to the blue economy because I don't think a lot of them are very visible to most people. But I just wanted to share some tricks and tips for securing funding for a project or an idea that you have. I spent about 5 hours a week just searching through the web and finding different small family foundations that have programs, that have grants programs for every aspect of the blue economy, right? They have arts, they have media, they have culture, they have community, they have science, they have research. But finding those grants, I think, is a really big inhibiting factor to most people. And there's a lot more out there than you'd expect. And especially for young folks, there are so many people chomping at the bit, actually, to fund your work and believe in the idea of this better future. A lot of the environmental grants and Green Jobs Board and spaces that are posting them in a communal setting, for me in marine mammal science, we're relying on a job board from Texas A&M. That is one of the central ways that we find a job, or a listserv, an email listserv called Marine Mammals. And that's how people are finding their career positions. And that's so internal and not actively visible. So if you guys would like to share any resources on, I think we have a great pivot to Jermaine, your work in AI and how that can help support students, career folks, in finding opportunities and being connected in their communities.
So I think probably I discovered probably like last year, it's never been a better time to really sort of like be in blue tech and understanding like technology and creating real intersections into this space. One of the things that BIMS, we come across so many people from all walks of life, from artists to curators to engineers, you name it, right? And so one of the things we really understand, like one, especially when it came to a lot of the budget cuts that occurred this year, it was sort of like, okay, one, we have issues with siloing where a lot of things are kind of happening in a silo. So sort of like, hey, there's these great jobs, but it might just exist on this sort of like this university's listserv, right? Or you also have a lot of fractionalization where like things are very fractional. One person's doing 10 people are doing the same thing in 10 different ways, right? So that's a problem. And so one of the things you, me, and Dr. Tierra, we really came up with an idea to really launch sort of our own unifying platform. And that's where we sort of like really came up with this idea of Ocean Justice AI. And the reason it's really focused on Ocean Justice AI is because much of the work that we're doing in the ocean, including the blue economy, has a lot to do with like our sustainable using the resources of the ocean sustainably, right? And conserving it because we need this water, right? It brings us life. And so this platform is one definitely focused on the intersections of the blue economy and socioeconomics, right? And then secondly, bringing the resources and the data and the connections to our community that we need. So this platform right now, we launched it in January, and when the next version is going to come out in this December, and it's really sort of been focused on like, okay, how do we like really connect the community to the jobs? How do we connect the industries to the community? How do we connect the organizations to all of these things in sort of that one unifying platform to allow you to really come into a space that where not only you get to learn about what what's the obsession about the ocean, right? What are the intersections about the ocean, right? How does this fit into our economy? The $2.6 trillion blue economy. People don't know that's how big it is right now, right? And then how do I then take action from working on movements, joining communities, volunteering, but also being able to say, you know what, I can actually participate this in a financial way. I can support myself and my family through this work, through this passion I've discovered. So I think it's very important that we're not just relying on some of these public platforms anymore. Because as we have seen, they can disappear, right? We don't own it, we don't control it, they just pull the plug, right? And so it's very much time in terms of our community to say, you know what, we got to work on our own stuff. We got to come together and unify that way. And I'm hoping that's something we're able to create and launch, and so that people get a good, well-rounded understanding. Because even right now, we're talking about it. There's so much that all three of us know right now, but we don't have enough time to sort of like give you that really just tell you how massive it is, right? But I think that's what we're working to really be able to showcase that visually in a way to get people to really understand there are so many niches, there's so many opportunities. And I hope that the people here on this panel, both myself and anyone here, can show you guys that you don't got to start there. You can come in at any point in time and say, you know what, I have a passion for this, I have a love for this, I can go into this. I just need to find the right place and talk to the right people to see where I can sort of like begin to find my niche and fit, because it's a big old ocean. We have plenty of room, right? But there's a lane for you. I promise you that.
I wanted to add, to the last thing that you say, finding hacks on how to do that, right? For example, with the ReefLine, we're using art as a way to hack our way into bringing the ocean closer to the people. And that proved very successful for funding. The ReefLine started with a Nights Arts Challenge Award. So that gave us our initial funding to put the project together. And then bringing a beacon of hope a bit on administration and public funds. The refund is supported by a cultural general obligation bond from the city of Miami Beach. So they provided the funding for us to develop the first 3 phases. The first one going now in October underwater. It's been through this hack, right? This using art as the binder and creating a space that wasn't there to bring awareness and to bring action into preserving the ocean and regenerating what was there. That was a very thriving coral reef that was smothered by a very bad sand replenishment project. If you can't find a way, you can create it, right? You can combine your interests, your passions, and build a pathway that can get you there. So just building on what you said.
I think we're very lucky to have a big wow factor in the blue economy because every person is most people I met. I had a dream once that I was pitching Taylor Swift, and she was like, "I don't care about the ocean." And it really devastated me. But we have such an amazing appeal, and so when you have crazy ideas and you want to bring people in and pitch them, you have an amazing interest from the public and family foundations and corporations, and reaching those philanthropies and those trusts is really important in pushing forward this industry. But we are running out of time, so thank you both to Julietta and
Oh,
Jermaine for being up here with me. And follow BIM's the ReefLine Earth Gang Foundation on Instagram.